Hello there YouTube, this is Sibbles and Bits back at it again, and today we're looking at the Inkbound pre-alpha test, or NEXTFest demo. Yeah, NEXTFest demo, and we'll be looking at the Weaver. This video was supposed to come out like a couple of days ago, but for some reason on my Steam feed, I got a post from Shiny Cammy saying that the demo was over. And so I was like, oh no! And then I recently just got told, no wait, the demo's still up and running. So now we're here playing the Weaver. So the Weaver in Inkbound is sort of like, it's easiest to call them the mage, but they're different from anything that I've probably ever seen in another game because they have a unique resource. And we're going to go ahead and just jump in here and I'll try and explain it on the fly. Adding hex is probably the easiest thing for us to do, so we'll go ahead and we'll do that. So, unlike the other classes, we have two abilities that actually cause magic damage and one that doesn't, but can be ported into magic damage. So, as far as the other classes, which are predominantly physical damage, with Weaver, we want to do predominantly magical damage. Quill Charm is pretty good, just 20% more damage. Or we can take cheese cards and actually have some income gain, because otherwise it's very hard for us to gain income, and we really want income on this class, and I'll try and explain that in the first battle. Plus 30 damage is kind of nice. Brings that up to 50 baseline. We've got access to better things, but I think we need that out of those options. We definitely don't take pacifism on this class. Ink Shell's a little up. Maybe final chapters won't get us killed. So, before I go into this, suffice to say that, in my honest opinion, I think that Weaver is one of the weakest classes in the game. Not to say that it cannot beat the game. In fact, you can pop off like any other class, right? Because a lot of powerful synergies are in vestiges or in your augments. But I think that the Weaver's base kit struggles quite a bit, and so that's why we're going to be bumping, hopefully as quickly as possible, to get an ascension at a binding event, because you need something more powerful in order to leverage your early and mid game. Now, they've got access to decent damage, and the one thing that they do have is that, well, I'll just go ahead and say, your resource for Weaver is threads, and what you're literally going to see is when I hit things with my one attack, my thread, I inflict threaded, and so that is a status on an enemy that I utilize for a variety of purposes. Some ascensions will allow me to remove those threads for benefits, and most of our abilities affect threaded units. Constrict will hit for 100 damage split evenly to all threaded units, and Stitch will hit a threaded enemy with bonus damage for each thread that we have. So if we have one thread out, then that'll be 40 damage. But if we have everything threaded, then obviously it does more damage. And then we'll go ahead and it pulls all nearby threaded enemies into that area, which is good for setting up teams in co-op. But for as far as we're concerned, moving enemies is our defense because we don't have access to a movement ability. We're going to go ahead and go for a Quilling Cage. As always, we always go for money. And on this class that needs an ascension, I might actually go money over key. So, as you will see, I'll hit these two enemies here, And now they have this threaded status, which means, and this is the interesting thing, I can target them anywhere. So, not only does Weaver have decent damage, but they also have technically infinite range so long as you're willing to set them up. But the one thing I want to get my point across here is that these threads themselves are our resource, not necessarily our passive, like most other classes have, right? Because on Magma Miner you've got heat, and so you want to generate heat, and so that's going to show on this passive here. And on Moss Cloak you have the shurikens, which it generates stuff for you, and then you pay it out with your 3. Very similar here because our 3 scales off the number of threaded enemies we have at the current moment, and these can also do that. This is also saying that we currently have 2 threads for the purposes of counting all that out. Now, the one thing that I see a lot of people do that I feel like a lot of people say that the Weaver is the weakest class is we have access to this buff here called Controlled Weaving, and only if all enemies are threaded do we gain Controlled Weaving. And what that does is that gives us a 3 ability power immediately, and we get +1 will reserve per turn. We won't get that immediately, but whenever the turn refreshes and we have everything under control, we get more will and ability power. Now, in my honest opinion, thinking that that's what your class's goal is a huge bait, because you don't always have an easy like 2 AP grab like we have right here. And then of course these are also set up, like obviously getting everybody was good because we were able to clear the wave, but enemies don't always spawn like that, and sometimes they're fragmented and all over the place. The way that I like to promote the idea of controlled weaving is your class generally doesn't get scaling power throughout the fight. What you're more better at is once the fight's under control, you're just better than everybody else, because nobody else gets +1 will from their passive or their resource. And thinking that your resource is going to be capped, or in other words, you're going to have everybody threaded, is a little bit of a misconception, because other classes don't get the top off their resource in 1 turn until like the late game when they're popping off. But especially in the early game, I would say ignore controlled weaving, but if you can get it in like 2 AP, it's usually worth it. But what it will cause you to be is a little bit slower at times, because since your damage is technically focused off of it, knowing when to add threads or when to deal damage or reposition, it's a lot more complicated than Moss Cloak and Magma Miner. I hope that all that made sense. And we definitely want access to our Stitch again, so we'll pick that up. And see, like this here, this is another example. I can't really get this for 1 AP, but you know what? This is pretty good. We're able to get this for 2 AP. And so I think that that's worth it. And so we're going to go ahead and probably nuke this guy. Let me just make sure. Okay. And then this would almost kill, except that he has Fizz Resist. But taking a look at Thread, it does around 40% of the damage as Magma Miner's Bonk. Like, it has longer range, but it's honestly so thin that it's a little bit finicky. And so sometimes you're going to have difficulty setting up those threads. And it takes a little getting used to. I am actually about this shielding. That allows us to do so much. Now here, I definitely like Silence Metronome. Ability power is nice. Outlawed Works is also nice, especially if we're theoretically going to try to crit a little bit. I could definitely see this being very good. The one thing to note about Weaver, or actually a lot of individual things in this game, is that currently in the demo, which is about over, so it's kind of needless for me to point it out, I guess, is that your magic power and your ability power is supposed to add up into the same like damage bin and then multiply into your base damage. But for whatever reason, almost all of Weaver's attacks, it's multiplicative. So getting a little bit of magic power and having those two multiplicative bins of your ability power and your magic power, and then we also are going for crit, it causes some ludicrous damage if we can get it to work. So Outlawed Works is still pretty good because it gives us magic power, and again, we've got two of those. But it's especially good due to the fact that, well, we just do very good with it. Well, I'll tell you what, I'm not going to say no to 3 ability power. That is huge. There we go. That'll use 3, though. We're going to use 2 to get this guy, though, so I suppose this is worth it. And you just have to constantly be thinking about your action economy and whether or not you're actually making good choices with stuff like this. And so in order to set that up, because I didn't think that we were actually going to get a kill anyways, it cost us 1 turn, so we're losing area debt here with the ring coming in. And we didn't reinforce, so we're pretty much using this whole turn. With all these orbs, though, we can probably actually just solve this all up. Refractory is actually pretty big for us, especially since we have a ton of ability power. I could also see Frozen Finger. Like, these are all pretty good. Technically, Coin of Shadows, very good, because, again, we want to get as much money as soon as possible, but if we crit, we technically get that? I don't know how to feel about this, but Refractory is just so good as common. We're likely going to keep it till the end of the game. We will take more magic power, thank you. So, our stats are actually quite loaded right now. What I would like to see here is, honestly, maybe Cleave? Cone of Frost would also do. Cleave is just generically burst damage, though, so I definitely like it a little bit more than others. I'll take an Uncommon Augment, thank you. And so, we're hoping, again, that by the end of this fight, which it's not looking like we will, we are going to have enough money. Oh, well, there's our money pot. That might have something to do with it. Okay. This is going to be a little weird. Hit you with that. Thread all these guys. Grab the power orb. And we're honestly... I guess this might be the best move. I'd really prefer not to, but I think this might be the best move. We'll be able to kill the pot on the next turn. We'll have access to Constrict again. Yeah, it's not that big a deal. Because because we're going to constrict. That's going to do most of the damage. Then we could probably just cleave up here and get rid of most of this nonsense. Can we get... Not really. We're going to take a little bit of damage here. A lot less than we would have, though. We're all perfectly okay with trading health. I think there's a way that we're going to get away with not using an AP here. I keep calling it AP. It's Will. My apologies. I'm from other games. There we go. All right. That wasn't too bad. Let's get more crit chance since that's how we're making our money. 2 additional stacks of bleed is kind of keck W, not gonna lie. I like reducing the passive cooldown a stitch, because that's theoretically our best nuke at most times, especially if we get it ascended. We did not get access to an ascension. That's fine because we didn't have enough money anyways. Of these options, I would rather just get more money, honestly. Alright. This boss is going to be a little bit difficult. Maybe not this boss, now that I think about it. You're going to eat this damage regardless. If I could get both of these guys, this could be quite large. Doesn't look like that's going to happen, though. Again, we're just so aggressively thin on this hitbox that it's actually hard for us to get a lot of lineups here. What about down here? Get 2 down here. Yeah, unfortunately, this fight is going to take ages. Just because of how it's set up, honestly. And how Weaver is set up. On the bright side, we at least get to grab all of these, like, individual. What am I trying to say here? Let's get this first. I saw that light up. Oh jeez, we're gonna be here for a little while. I think I get like slurped into the creep, and that's when I can actually like hit this guy. And it's kind of important for me to hit this guy. Like, I suppose I could take the damage. Alright. I can't also get the boss in there, though. Beep bap. So we'll go ahead and settle with that, I guess. Took a lot more damage there than I would have wanted. Now, this is precisely what we want to see. Is we want to see our thread upgrade. One, as you can clearly see, this is significantly more damage than 10. Secondly, they add different passives. For instance, Weave makes controlled weaving give an additional 5 ability power for a total of plus 8, which is quite a bit. That's almost double your damage, not assuming that you might have other ability power, because all of that is additive with itself. Otherwise, you can have Loom, which is... And by the way, these also all affect like our AoE. This one's a cone, like a shotgun. This one's more like a lob, like a grenade. And anything that we hit is going to get threaded. And Loom will give 1 ability power for each person that we have threaded. It makes threading easier, so it's also going to mean that we actually realistically can get controlled weaving for much cheaper. And that makes it like significantly good. So we definitely appreciate that. Otherwise, again, Weave has the advantage of range and having technically more power, but I would much rather have Loom and have ability power more often. There are times, though, when I would choose the other one. Huh. Threaded units are inflicted with 2 stacks of burn at the start of every turn. I'm not even sure if that's, like, good, but I guess we have a lot of ability power. I might actually re-roll this. Sewing Stitch not requiring a target to be threaded could be also nice. I think we'll go with that one, which will fully dock this one up. It's a good fish. I will take even more magic power, thank you. I guess I should check. Yeah, this is still magic power. And let's just take the one that's less likely to kill us, which is probably... Oof. Promenade is actually, like, horrendous. I guess instead we're going to take Slow Start, which is pretty suffer. Again, hopefully we don't get bopped here, but like I said before, I'm much less comfortable with Weaver than I am the other classes. Certainly not as straightforward, and I can't say that I'm necessarily like comfortable with all of the outs, if you will, of the class. It's a little unfortunate, but we're relatively fine. Yeah, we actually might die here. Now we're rooted? Okay, I guess that kind of worked out. Yeah, give me that. Okay, that's great. I'll take more crit damage, still kind of hoping for the crit. I would take this if it was heal. We probably still take Jinx because it's incredible for us. Jinx scales off of whenever you deal magic damage, it gains a stack, and since we primarily deal a lot of AoE magic damage, sometimes multiple times in a turn, that makes it pretty significant for us. Another thing that's kind of interesting about Loom, the ascension that we took for our thread, is for whatever reason, it has a bug, or I'm assuming it's a bug because it's not listed that it does this. Whenever we deal damage to something, we deal damage to all units that are threaded. Now, I obviously don't count that as something I'm going to take into consideration with these things because of the fact that I'm pretty sure it's a bug. But if you notice something weird happening, that's what's going on. Sounds good. I think I can deal with Decayed Binding on this setup because we have so much AP. Like, that sets us back one level, basically. But on the first turn, we just have so much damage. Give me more crit chance because I need to make more money. There's our Binding Empowerment that we've been saving up for, so we're going to go ahead and ascend to Binding. All these are actually pretty good. Splice is probably the one that I'm most about. Because it's just so much damage. But what it does is it does detach our threads, so then we would have to set it up again. Generally speaking, I don't think that that's a big deal. Again, a lot of people look at Weaver and they're like, well, if I'm detaching threads, then I'm not getting close to controlled weaving. Again, controlled weaving isn't there as like a goal. It's there as more of like a consolation prize. And so if you're utilizing your threads, which is your resource to deal more damage, then that's killing things. And then there's less things that you have to have threaded in order to have controlled weaving. And so that's why I said that a lot of people kind of get a little bit tied up, I believe. Then again, I'm also not comfortable with the class, so maybe I don't know what I'm talking about. This one's also good because it threads people, and we took the bonus that they don't need to be threaded. So this is basically just another button that threads things so that we actually do get controlled weaving. You know what? I think we'll go with Tangle. It doesn't scale off the number of threads anymore, too, which is kind of nice. I would absolutely like to hex things. I was kind of hoping for that much sooner. if you didn't notice when I took our quest, we'll get it though because we'll have the time. I mean, after all, if this fight is 2 waves, we're probably gonna get 6 hex here, and then we fight the boss. Hex a lot of enemies. We're not gonna get access to our legendary till like pretty late, but it's not gonna be terrible. So we're gonna go ahead and hex some things. Then I'm just gonna go ahead and I guess knit you guys together. Swing. I believe you guys are dead. Or if we just loom you, my apologies. Get in the range of this. That'll do it. Okay. And of course, with Jinx, you gain just an unreasonable amount of, hold up. I think I can go with Unearthed Relic, honestly. With Jinx, you just gain an unreasonable amount of damage with Weaver. And so, like, early on, before, like, this recent patch that came out, I would constantly be saying stuff like, oh, well, I think that Weaver's the weakest class because of these reasons, and it's slow. And a lot of people would say stuff to me like, well, if you think that Weaver is slow, then you don't play Weaver right. You always 2-round everything. You just gotta roll Jinx. Well, I think that that's probably a Jinx issue and not a Weaver issue, personally. But there are also people in the Discord who are able to get reliable wins. One of the... I don't want to call them out by name, not necessarily for the purposes of keeping them anonymous or whatever, but they do a lot of challenge runs, and a lot of their challenge runs was playing Weaver without getting any of the additional bindings and without getting ascensions. And so, like I said, Weaver can still do everything that the other classes can. It's just that they gotta work harder for it. Yeah, we are just doing a truck ton of damage now. Thanks to Loom. Allowing us to get... We're going to take 4. Are we okay with that? We almost have to be. It's not like we can kill this boss. Tell you what, though, we certainly haven't been critting. And I think we want to drop this Jinx now, because it does a ton of damage. Let's make our Jinx just better. Let's go ahead and ascend this. I don't think we want to detach with this skill. I'll just enhance it to deal double the damage that it normally does. I think we're going to end up just fine on this run. The final boss might kill us, but otherwise I'm not really afraid of anything anymore. But again, this was exactly why at the start of the run I was saying, okay, we need as much money as possible so that we can ascend. Well, we've ascended our skill, and now we don't care about anything. Okay, let's see. 350. I mean, that's a lot of damage. I guess for the sake of speed, we might as well just blow everything up here. Hello, ink tap's good. And I think we honestly want to just save these guys. I mean, I suppose we can kill this guy. And we're going to save that jinx for this turn right here, because now everything's up in a ball. All we got to do is hit once, get everybody hit, and line them up. It's done. And we got ink tap, which is pretty dang good. An additional will is always good on Weaver. Honestly, just put some more damage on my cleave. Disintegrate is pretty good. An ink flat? I'm kind of conflicted here. I want to do all wills barred because it's more will on crit, but the fact of the matter is that we don't really have crit. So what would we get rid of for that? I suppose refractory doesn't really make that much of a difference right now. Like, it's considerable, but not enough, because if we get rid of cheese cards because money's no longer useful to us, then we lose 5% crit. Oh boy. I think I'm actually going to just re-roll this. Or actually, yeah. Okay, there we go. I'll take that. We basically just upgraded our gloves. Oh no! Anyways. Oh, of course I missed you. I mean, at this point, we're honestly just stacking jinx. So we'll set up the stack jinx. It also seems that bugged loom damage is causing magic damage as well, because we're going up by 5 per hit when we definitely shouldn't be. don't think that we want to go ahead and eat this damage, though. So let's at least reduce some of that damage. We should probably eat that. Rude. It's kind of hard to hit all of you now. And what we're basically waiting for here is we're waiting to get past this HP gate right here. And then we're pretty much going to try and blow up Argaloth through the rest of this. Guess we're going here. Well, we can do this from range, so we'll do it. Yeah, honestly, Jinx is just going to carry us here because of the fact that we don't really do exceptional damage. I mean, that was some exceptional damage, to be honest. I would really rather... I wasn't paying attention there. Okay, my apologies. I just, what I was looking at there was I was thinking I didn't want to drop my Dread when he has 90% damage resistance. So I was just going to wait for the end of that phase, but he summoned the tentacles that deal like apparently 10 damage per summoning, and I got bopped, which was kind of embarrassing because that was obviously a win. Anyways, hopefully you at least enjoyed the demonstration of Weaver, and unfortunately this is pretty much going to be the last day that we're going to be able to play Inkbound until, like, I don't know, maybe they come out with a early access or a closed beta. Until then, this week we're coming out with Hellcard on Thursday, which is when this game technically ends the demo access. So expect to see some Hellcard on the channel if you're here for the channel. And if you're here for Inkbound, well then hopefully, I don't know, you guys catch us around when we start up when we get access to it again. And until next time, I'll catch you guys around.